Hey everyone, we're Chris and Sandy with the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like it's on every episode, we got a great one for you. Who do we have?
Our guest today, Jamie O'Neal, is a platinum-selling, four-time Grammy-nominated country singer and songwriter, known for hits like There Is No Arizona. Her new album, Gypsum, drops January 23rd.
And we're excited to have her on the show. Welcome to the show.
Yes,
Thank
welcome.
you so much. So glad to be here.
Awesome. So tell us about your new album that's coming out, Gypsum.
Well, it's been, I feel like a long time in the making. Some of the songs I've written with friends of mine who have been there since the beginning, the very beginning, back in, 2000 when my music first came out. Roxy
Yes.
Dean, Robin Lee, Shay Smith, Ed Hill. We would write every week. We don't write every week anymore, but these are some of my favorite writers. And I feel like these songs, they represent for me. We went on a lot of writing trips, and I would go out to New Mexico, like Taos, New Mexico. Sometimes we'd go to Northern California. Utah is another place I love. I love those wide open spaces. I feel like they really creatively inspire me. I don't have any distractions when we're out there, and there's usually like three of us, and we'll spend the time, visiting different places. One of the places that's my favorite place I've ever been, one of my top five for sure, is White Sands National Park, which is in Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
playing a show there a couple of years ago, and I usually look up, things to see in places I'm going, just to see if there's something different or something that I want to take photos of. I love to go out in nature and take photos and video. And so I saw this White Sands National Park, and I was like, well, I have to go there.
Yeah.
And then I ended up booking a photographer and doing my photo shoot because I'd already had a song called Over New Mexico. And I wanted to tie in, places that represented that song and just represented a feeling that I had when I wrote a lot of the songs. And I felt like White Sands was the perfect place to do that. And so I booked a photographer, and I feel like the reason it's called Gypsum is the sand dunes at White Sands National Park. That's what they're called. Gypsum
Okay.
sand. So yeah, it's kind of mysterious in a way. A lot of people don't know what it means, but that's what it represents. And so we climbed up the sand dunes. We did the photo shoot. It was really cool, really fun. And I went into the studio with some of my favorite musicians, incredible musicians that I've worked with for a long time. And we tracked the album, and I'm just so thrilled that it's finally coming out.
Oh, wow. And we see that you co-produced with your husband. Now, how's that? Because we've worked together, so we definitely understand the dynamic it takes to have a husband-wife team. So how's that worked out for y'all?
Yes. Well, you've heard the song Old Heartache.
Mhm.
No, I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of being productive. And the great thing about working with your spouse is you can be open, and you can see any side of each other, and you're going to, carry on and keep working. Whereas if you're working with someone you don't really know, sometimes you've got your guard up. So, a little bit, or you might not be truthful about saying how you really feel, but with your partner, you really do say how you feel. And it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of challenges to it. It's like those two, my dad always says it's like those two crows, Heckle and Jekyll, the cartoon back in the day when they used to do a lot of this, like they would fight and then they'd be in the nest together and everything. It's like that, you get along, and then sometimes you don't get along, but you carry on and you keep going. And that's kind of us, it's like, we knew that we know when we're doing a project that we have to get it finished, and we just work no matter how long it takes. And this one's definitely had its challenges. I mean, we got COVID right after the tracking of this album. I got COVID.
Wow.
And I couldn't sing for, definitely a few months. And it's always like, you want your vocal to be the best. You're not going to go in kind of in a bad spot like that when you can't get your breath or you can't sustain and endure for a lot of singing. Because sometimes for me, it'll take like an hour to 2 hours to do one song, and so not just singing every song. I had to do all the background vocals with my daughter and my husband. Not all of them, but I did quite a few background vocals myself. And so there's just a lot of vocal work that goes into it. And I think I had those challenges. But what we did was it's kind of cut up when the vocal was done. It's like you'll take some time off and then go back to it. We did have that luxury because when you're an independent artist, you can do it whenever you feel like it.
Definitely understand that. Now let's go back a little bit. You re-recorded "There Is No Arizona" for the 25th anniversary. What memories did that bring back to you when you had to go do that?
So many. We wrote the song at Dick Clark's son's house.
Wow.
He had just sold it to one of my really good friends and a fabulous writer herself, Annie Roboff, who I did demos for, like This Kiss, and she's written so many other hits. I can't even too many to mention. And she let us use her house to write that day, and so that's what we went into. We wrote it, but we loved the song so much, but we didn't have it finished. And I remember we had a demo session coming up, and we're like, let's put this song on the demo session so we can get it finished as soon as possible. And so we wrote some of the lyrics after it had already been demoed, just so that we could play it, because I just got my record deal, just so we could play it for the label. And I remember my producer saying, "That's your first single right there. That's the one." And I said, "Really? Oh my gosh!" Because it's a story song, so it's not a first person song, and it's not a positive song. It's definitely a heartbreak song and a revelation kind of song. But so it had some unique things to it. It had the scatting and everything like that. And I remember some of my co-writers, other writers, not the writers on that song, but they were saying it's a risk putting out a song like that. And then I thought, but at the same time, it's something different where people are going to maybe say, "Oh, I haven't heard that before," or
absolutely,
that's, she sounds not necessarily traditionally country. And so I thought maybe it would be a breakthrough thing for me, since I was a new artist. I do feel like when you're a new artist, you need something that's going to stand out. So I was excited that everyone on my team was behind that song. Everyone at the label, particularly my producer, I was excited. And I mean, it brings back memories of the first thing that broke me through and was my, success story, even though it took 7 months to get up the charts. It was a great time.
So with it taking 7 months to get there, was there a point before it blew up that you thought, well, this one ain't going to work?
I never went there, but I did go to a place of, this is harder, that the patience that you have to have. I'm not a really, really patient person. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I've got the chill factor worked out. It's like I'm always thinking of, thinking ahead of, like, what's the next thing, or what do I need to do, or, that kind of thing. So everyone at the label would say to me, the promo guys would say, it has to crawl. It's like a baby. It has to crawl before it can walk, before it can run. And so it comes out and it's really slow, and you're like, why is it taking so long? And I remember having those conversations where they're like, you're going to have to realize how long it actually can take for a song to get going, for phones to light up. Because if they say, oh, back in the day, not now, because a lot of things are streaming, but they would say, we've got phones for this song. And so I kept waiting. When is my song going to have phones? And that means the board lights up. The board lights up after the song's played. The board lights up to request the song. And so, I was waiting for phones. And then when we started getting them, it was the most exciting thing in the world.
So tell us the moment when it blew up. What were your first thoughts? I mean, I know this was your dream come true, but
first thought is finally.
But sometimes when it happens, it just happens so quick, it's overwhelming. So tell us those moments.
You're giving me a shadow there. My husband's walking in front of the window. Well, I just think I was wrapped up in the excitement of it all. I listened to interviews like with Ella Langley and Lainey Wilson, and they talk about this imposter syndrome.
Mm.
And I think I definitely had some of that. Because, you go back, I started singing when I was 8 years old with my family. I'm just out there having a good time. I don't even know what success means. I just know that we're on stage. I've got a microphone. People are in front of me. This is fun. That's all I knew at that time. And then as I got older, it was like, I want to go back to Nashville. I want to get a record deal. I wasn't even thinking I want to be a songwriter for other people. I just knew that I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to get there and I wanted to get a record deal. And that's all I could see, was that happening. And it definitely happened later than I thought. And I feel like the good thing about God's timing is that in the timing that it took to get there, then the time that it took,
You were
I
able
was
to grow.
working on stage. I was working on what it took to talk to an audience, to keep an audience's attention, and all that kind of thing. So I had that training. I had the endurance of singing in a cover band 3 hours a night, building up to what it would take to go out there. And I've been on stage with many bands and many bad situations of bad sound, or, the sound cutting out, or whatever it may be. Like, I've been in so many situations, I thought, there's nothing I can't handle on stage, and I can get through a show no matter what. And that's what being in Australia too, and cover bands too. And that really helped me.
So looking back, was there ever an aha moment where you thought, wow, this could be a career?
I can't remember the exact time it happened because I've been singing my entire life. Like, there's never been a time when I wasn't singing.
Oh,
you
wow.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they say, write what you know. And that definitely happened to me. And whether it happened to me, the story songs I was writing, or it happened to someone else, or, you're reading a book and a title pops out at you that is a line from a book or something, or a movie or a billboard. I was always looking for things to write down, to write about, like that would be a good title or a good, story for the song. And, I think that I just always thought singing was in my DNA. My parents sang, and so it was like, if you have military families, usually the sons go into the military, and daughters too. It's like, or doctors, parents have kids, and then those kids become doctors. It's kind of the same thing with music. Like, I watched my dad night after night after night, and my mom, but mainly my dad, singing and playing out there. And my mom was a dancer who kind of like dabbled in singing, but wasn't really a singer. And I watched them be so, I would say, enamored with the music business and working on it, off stage, like writing their lines, or working on, okay, now, Jamie will come out, and then my younger sister, Samantha, now Samantha will come out. So I think it's like, I don't remember a time when I didn't think it would be my career. Does that make sense? Like, it was always my career. I've always made a living. I made a living out of singing since I was like, 19.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, and before that, when I started, I was 8 years old with my parents, but obviously I'm not going to count that as my living, but I did, perform and add to the family value. But yeah, since I was 19, that's how I've made my living.
Wow.
Definitely love that. A lot of people, they see the glory in what you do, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles it takes to get to any level with entertainment. And we always want to talk about that because nobody really does. So take a few moments and just tell us about the side that people don't see.
I think so many artists have talked about this. I've heard Travis Tritt say, not Travis Tritt, Trace Adkins said, I don't get paid for the time that I'm on stage. I get paid for everything else that comes along with it. And it's true because, you have to travel to shows. You have to put in the time behind the scenes of getting to that point where you are traveling to the show. And sometimes, there might be cancellations, there might be flight delays. One of your musicians might kick a guitar over and snap it in two. I mean, there's there's stressful things that you have to deal with. I know my husband was out a couple months ago playing for Ty Herndon, and the bass player kicked over his guitar and it broke.
Oh,
And
wow.
that guitar was in the shop for like 3 or 4 months getting fixed because it's a bad break. And that was like his main guitar. I guess that's just one of the things. I don't think there's really anything other than the instability of it. I would say that's the hardest thing that we deal with, is the instability of not knowing and being what I call a gambler, like a music gambler. You're kind of taking a chance and you're hoping that it pans out. But even at my level or anyone's level, you know, anything can happen, you know, that way of that, you know, it could be a storm, it could be illness. Like I said, you get COVID or the flu and you can't sing and you're canceling dates. And it's like this devastating feeling. You're letting people down, you're letting yourself down, you're letting your family down. I think that is a very stressful time. I think just the physical aspect too of traveling and sleeping in different beds, and you know, just everything it takes, lugging your luggage up, you know. If sometimes you get to a hotel and they're like, we don't have an elevator, we just have stairs, and you're like,
oh no.
what? How am I going to get my luggage cart up the steps?
It's funny because we I got another brand called the Customized Ride, and we travel to car shows, and that's the first thing I look for when we pull up to a hotel. Where are the carts? Where are the carts?
Yeah.
So true. So true.
That's a lot of work to go upstairs.
It is.
I call my husband my Sherpa. He's always, you know, carrying multiple bags up and down the stairs.
So a lot of people see you, but they don't see the team around you. In our opinion, teams never get love. On our show, they always get some love. So take a few moments and tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, for me, my family, you know, I grew up singing with my dad and my mom and my younger sister. And now I work, like, my husband plays guitar. My daughter's here. Our daughter's here with us singing tonight at our show here in Georgia. And working on the album, he and I together, he also plays guitar and does different programming and things like that. My dad is kind of my, what I would call day-to-day person. So we're discussing things like writers and stage plots and hotel rooms and travel. So he helps me. We bounce ideas off of each other for things. And that's my kind of my core team, really, of my family members. But also I have Bob Kincaid at Kincaid Agency and his agents who help book the shows, or they do book the shows, not help. And Craig Campbell, who does publicity, and he's amazing. And a couple of the guys at my record company, distribution company, Bob Frank Entertainment, Bob Frank, Jason Berger, Chuck Rhodes. You know, the photographer, I mean, it's endless. I can keep going on. The musicians who played on the album. I mean, there's so many people, and it really does take a village. It's not just anything that we can do by ourselves.
Yep. Right. You know, speaking of teams, we have a third co-host, our 14-year-old son, that always asks a couple questions. So Sandy's going to go get him.
And, nice. And I already met Caitlin.
Yep. You met Caitlin. Awesome. Caitlin always likes to say, hey, before we go live, and then he comes on later, and so that we're fully family, like what you're doing.
That's awesome. That is great.
So what's, you know, while we're waiting for him to come in here, what's kind of next for you?
Well, I'm touring, and just as much as I can, and my tour dates are on Bands in Town. My website right now is being redone, I guess you would call it, under construction. So I'm waiting for that to finish to where people can go on there and see all the, you know, what's happening. But you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Bands in Town, TikTok. I'm new to TikTok-ish, but I'm really enjoying putting content on there. And I think people really engage on there, I've noticed. I just don't post as much as I should on there, for sure.
Yeah.
But next up is just like tour dates. Like January 30th, I'm in Ohio opening for Lori Morgan. And then a couple weeks later, I'm with Ty Herndon in Mississippi. So just touring as much as possible and promoting this album, and looking forward to hearing back about what the fans think, what their favorite tracks are. doing some remixes. Next year we'll do like a deluxe version of it and have some other new songs added to it. So that'll be cool.
All right. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. So what's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely Italian. Anything Italian. Bolognese, usually, lasagna.
My favorite food's pizza.
That's Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's the best.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I have another question. So what's the coolest experience you've had in Journey so far?
Oh, the coolest experience. I always think that meeting artists that you really looked up to, I think getting to tour with some of my favorite artists, Reba McEntire, Martina McBride, and then becoming friends with them like Sarah Evans. And I think I would definitely say meeting other artists. I met the Dixie Chicks and they were so sweet. And Marty played on one of my songs and that was really neat. And I think just having other musicians admire your work and getting to meet them in person is one of the really cool side benefits of being an artist.
So if you could co-write with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, how do you
let's have one of each. Let's have one that's alive and one that's not here.
Okay. Well, I think singing or collaborating with Aretha Franklin would be amazing, or Tony Bennett. They would have to be the ones that I think are incredible. If I could collab with anyone now that's here, I've always been a huge Keith Urban fan. Keith Urban for sure. I'm just going to pick those two.
Love that.
Or three.
So where would you like to be in 5 years?
Well, definitely still singing for sure, and just touring as much as possible, out there on the road, building up new albums and putting out just more music, and going to places I haven't been to yet. Like I've always wanted to go to South Africa. Hopefully I'm going to back to Australia this year. It's looking good, fingers crossed. Touring, internationally for sure.
Let's look down the road, say 15, 20 years, and you're at the end of your career or wherever that leads for you. What do you hope you never forget along that journey?
I hope I never forget what it feels like to have people who love my music. I don't want to forget that feeling of like when I go out on stage and people are singing my songs back to me, that never gets old. Mm-hmm. I would never want to overlook that or forget that gift because I feel like it's such a blessing. So I guess just I would never want to not be grateful for that, and I would never want to forget the lyrics for sure, but that might come. I might have to get a teleprompter.
Have you done that? Have you forgotten lyrics anytime in the past?
Oh yeah. But it usually happens when I get distracted and I zoom back like, oh, where was I in the song? You know what I mean? And then I've thrown myself off. Then I just gotta like catch up, keep going.
I've heard some people that if their mind goes blank when they're singing, they just hold the mic out. The audience sings, and then it comes back to them, and then they.
That's a good trick. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
Because of course, audience wants to sing. So if you hold your mic out, they're gonna think, "Oh yes, let's sing louder."
Yes. The problem is if you're doing a new song and they don't know it. Sing it, and then they don't come in.
Like we ain't heard it yet.
Yeah.
So if someone was discovering your music for the first time through your new album, what do you hope that they get of understanding of your music today?
I really like the idea of like, for me, Arizona, when it came out, that haunting, mysterious quality is something that I want to carry on with. Like I want some of my songs to, when they start, they're almost like some minor chords and you're like, oh, what's this going to be about? I think the mysteriousness of it appeals to me. And, being, I guess heartbreak is something that I hope I do well,
Mm-hmm. So who is Jamie?
Who is Jamie? Well, I'm a wife and a mom and a dog mom. I'm definitely a busy person. My daughter says I'm OCD for sure because I'm always thinking, I guess, in a way that like I'll repeat, like make sure you do this, make sure you do that. Oh, don't forget we got to do this. Don't forget we got to do that. So I guess like stressing and worrying about the next thing would be part of who I am. That's definitely in my DNA. I like to cook. I'm not a huge cook, but the things that I do cook, I think I do well.
Ah.
I'm a TV watcher for sure. I'm just talking about the things I do here. I can be emotional, but I'm definitely one of those people that steels myself against emotion because in singing and doing shows, there are places I've been like St. Jude's Hospital or singing at a funeral or singing after 9/11 where you have to kind of steel yourself against the emotion of singing because that is an emotional thing. But if I lose it, I can't sing in tune, and nobody wants to hear that. So
Definitely understand that. So this last question is kind of a two-part question. Since you basically grew up in the music business, first part of the question is, what advice would you give that parent that has a child that wants to do what you do?
I would say you can't want it more than they do. And if they really want it, make them work for it. And that includes locking themselves up in the room and becoming better at their craft. Because one thing that a lot of younger people do, and I know because I've worked with so many young artists who the parents come in and the parents are like, what about this or what about that? And the parents are speaking more than the kids are. Or when I say kids, they could be teenagers.
Yeah.
Or the parents want to sit there when the teenager's trying to write a song and it just does not work out. The parents can't want it more than the teenager can. And the teenager or the kid needs to be prepared to be on their own and speak up and like add to, the song. Sorry. My phone is ringing in the background there. I guess someone left his phone out here. Sorry about that. That's what you get, right? When we go live, that's what you get. You get live stuff. You're lucky my dogs aren't barking because when they get to going, when they start barking, forget it. They go crazy, and there's 3 of them, so it's really loud. I think the other thing is like, bettering yourself, even as adults, but definitely as a kid, you could be really good, but is it good enough to make it? It's usually if it's like they're really serious about it, they'll put in the work. And that means like reading books about songwriting or going to Berklee School of Music, maybe for a camp or something like that, or another place to get away from their home life and to really, sink into what it means to become an artist and what it means to craft a song and that kind of thing. And I think there's so many great places. My daughter went to Berklee for a week or 2, and she's in Belmont now, which is a music college, and she's been singing and writing since she was 12. I mean, she was singing before that, but writing seriously since she was 12 and really putting in the time. And I think that's what it takes.
Oh, wow. So last question is, what advice would you give that person that wants to do what you do?
Really the same thing. You have to better yourself all the time and edit your lyrics and just work on it and keep going. Don't give up. Don't be discouraged. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. I do think it's important to, if you want to do music, I think you have to be in Nashville. If you want to do pop music, obviously you could be in LA, but if you want to do country music, you have to move to Nashville and really like go to writers' nights and network and meet people and work every day and work really hard. I mean, I still am of that mindset that hard work trumps talent every day.
I believe that too, because so many times you see people that they've got all the talent in the world and they never make it. And then you see this other person that's got half the talent of that person and they blow up because they have been working since a young age and they believe in what they're doing. They believe in the music business. And that's just been their dream.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree.
So really great having you on the show today. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing where you go from this point because we definitely enjoyed you from the past and all that. So we're definitely
Thank you.
excited to see where this album goes. And you're always
Oh,
welcome to come back on the
thank you
show.
so much. I appreciate it. It was great to talk to you guys today.
All right, same here. We'll talk with you soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.